Hey guys, it's Matt here, and today I'm bringing you another episode of Matt Rants. So, before we begin, just want to mention that I took a little bit of a break, a little bit like of a day or two hiatus, because I've recorded some Matt Rants in a row, kind of got a little bit burnt out, because doing a lot of E3s in a row, but thankfully we'll be finishing up our E3, or my E3 rants on Friday. I'm not too sure about the PC gaming event, the press conference. I'll check it out and see if it's worth talking about. And I say worth talking about from my perspective of me doing it, not, anything against PC gamers or PC gaming. So I'll definitely have to check that out. And maybe I'll do another one on Saturday if necessary. But we'll have this one coming out tonight, whenever tonight is. I assume tonight is Thursday. And then the next rant, the Sony rant, should be coming out tomorrow. I'm going to try to record them both in the same day, but it might come out tomorrow due to the fact that encoding times for these, because of how long they are pretty dang long. These end up being longer than my usual shorter ones, which is why we're going to cut right into it and not talk any longer. We have to talk, but talk about the actual topic of the day, which is Ubisoft's E3 press conference. We're going to talk about what I graded it as a little bit later on. We're going to talk about some things that I feel so strange talking about some of the musical performances and other kind of weird segues in some of these conferences, because it's stuff that in some cases I might like, but I still have to look through it with the same lens, the same criteria that I put on with earlier press conferences, which, honestly, by next year, I might actually lift that criteria depending on what what else gets shown. But looking at these round of press conferences, the criteria that I had was when I saw the first musical performance was, hey, this is fun, but I don't think this should be at E3. And that was, or at least in this capacity, in this way. And that was really me talking about the, it wasn't EA's, because EA did not do a musical performance. It was actually Bethesda's, because Bethesda's cool. And yeah, so I don't know how I feel, but even before we get to the whole Just Dance tie-in, I want to talk about Kim Weigand and Justin Levy. So I don't know who these people are. I assume they're cool people, right? I'm sure I'd love to hang out with them. I don't know if they're YouTubers. They were just listed as Ubisoft, so they could just be, some hosts hired by Ubisoft, but they're also YouTubers on the side. I don't know what they do. And I'm not saying that I shouldn't. I just don't know. Why am I bringing them up, though? Because they kind of opened up the show, and I say kind of because I don't believe we saw them at all ever again. Because at least with, I want to make sure I get her name right from the EA conference, at least with Andrea Renee, we saw her peppered throughout the event, so it made sense. Yes, this person is the host, that's fair. But with this one, we got Kim Weigand and Justin Levy for 5 seconds, and then never again. And that was really odd. And I know some of you are going to go, well, they messed up the first 5 seconds. Why would we want to see them again? Because that entire press conference felt like it was littered with graphical, video, audio issues. And frankly, a lot of the other conferences as well. So it's not just this one, but this one in particular felt as if there were huge issues. There were issues with the mic. And apparently, according to Elijah Wood's hot take of what's going on in the background, it wasn't just an issue with the mic still being on when they went back there, but apparently there was an issue with teleprompters, because he really shut down for a second there. And he's an actor, so he kept on going. Like when they cut back to him, he was just back in actor mode, but he shut down in a way that I love the guy. I don't know if he does theater. I don't know him personally, but I love his work. I don't know if he does theater, but improv, he just shut down. I was like, oh damn, you good? But anyway, we'll get to that a little bit later. I just think that when looking at Kim Weigand and Justin Levy, this is another reason why I just kind of want these companies to move away from hosts. And I'm not sitting here like, oh, they're so bad, we gotta move away from hosts. No, it's just, why did they need to quote unquote, hype up and announce the show? Why couldn't we just jump right into the Just Dance? Do people not know that this is Ubisoft's stream, right? If they see the hashtag, would that not inform them that, oh, I'm watching Ubisoft's? I mean, heck, if you're, look, I'm not trying to gatekeep here and saying, oh, you got to be a true fan to, tune into E3. But what I am saying, though, is someone like myself who's barely seen E3s ever in my life, barely seen an E3. I don't remember the last time I saw an E3. I wanted to tune into this, so I looked up a schedule. I don't feel like people are going to just be, randomly tune into this. As far as I know, this was not posted on, on the TV. See, this was posted on online. So you're going to have to do a little bit of digging to get to it, or you're going to see it listed as a live stream on YouTube. You're going to know what's going on. So I just don't really see why these two were needed. Now, believe me, look, I understand that I'm not being a self-preservationist at all. Because literally I'm saying that I don't know about these hosts getting jobs. Well, this could be a job that I could be getting in the future if I actually get big enough. Let's all laugh, shall we? But if I actually get big enough, this could be a job that I get in the future. So I'm actually biting myself in the behind because I do understand that I don't know if hosts should be doing this at E3 unless they're, again, Sony did something interesting with the role, and I'll talk about that during the Sony rant. But in this case, I just feel like Ubisoft, they weren't needed, and if they were going to put them in, you gotta use them more throughout the event itself. Now, so the dance number, when I knew what it was for at the end, when I knew, it's for Just Dance 2019, I feel as if, okay, I get it, it ties in, it makes a bit more sense. However, when I first saw it, my thought was, and I think other people's thoughts were too, what? Why? This is good, I like it. I don't know if other people liked it, I loved it actually. But just, and by the way, I would like to mention, maybe if I saw it live, I'd have a better appreciation for it. I mean, the live crowd didn't seem like they were just clapping just to clap. Because certain musical performances, it felt like some crowds, and not specifically Ubisoft, but in general, throughout the entire E3 event, there were some crowds that were just clapping just to clap. In this case, they actually seemed hyped. And frankly, it was a good musical number. I think it went on for a little bit too long. I don't know why they had to go on for that long on stage, but again, live crowd probably makes more sense for them. I enjoyed it, but again, it's that whole, does this need to be at E3? Well, the game is Just Dance, so frankly, in this case, I have to give it a slight pass. I don't know what to say, because normally I don't want to give it a pass, because I'm like, does this really belong here? But in this case, I'm like, yeah, it kinda does, though, if the game is Just Dance. In other cases, for other games, but in this case, that is literally the name of the game. And also maybe I'm crazy, right? Maybe I'm the one that's, I'm crazy because, I feel all these companies doing these musical numbers and dance numbers. I'm the one that is, why am I turning up my nose at the fact this is turning into the Tonys? I like watching the Tonys. I love watching Neil Patrick Harris's opening numbers. But that's because it's the Tonys. Like, I wouldn't expect Neil Patrick Harris to open up the Tonys with a Let's Play. That would be odd. But you know what? I said it earlier. The crowd loved it. And frankly, that is kind of what matters. Like, in my opinion, while it does matter what we think at home, at the same time, if there is a crowd there that enjoys it, I said this during the Nintendo Direct rant that I did, the E3 rant. If the crowd, because I was actually at Nintendo World in New York when I did the rant, or rather when I saw everything. So I saw the crowd loving it, getting hyped. Some stuff they booed, some stuff they, cheered rather loudly. The chants were great. So I noticed that personally, if the crowd is really into it, I mean, yes, it can show a little bit of a bias, like shaping the event, like, clearly people loved it. But still, my point, though, is that the crowd enjoying it does matter, especially the crowd live. We're looking at, like, EA's, E3 event. The crowd, their own crowd, did not seem enthused, which was, that hurt. But anyway, so let's move on to Beyond Good and Evil 2. So words, and it sucks because I make words. This is what I do here, Matt Rants. We do words. Words cannot describe how good this game looks. And I want to get the first one. Just based on the way this looks, I kind of want to get the first one. And then we were able to move on to, after that amazing trailer, right, which there was this big reveal that to me is meaningless because I haven't played the first one, but I was like, oh god, like the cutscene was amazing, right, or the actual trailer for it. But We then moved on to, and by the way, I'm going to mispronounce every single person's name. If I don't mispronounce your name, I apologize. So let's see here. We have Gabrielle Schrager, and who's the narrative director, and Guillaume Brunner, or Bionnaire, the senior producer. So I like them, but I feel like they weren't needed, and it's not against them. Like, I'm not trying to sit there and go, you two aren't needed. It's just that I feel like the trailer was so good, I was already sold. So for me, I'm like, no, I'm good. You two can go, you chill. I'm good. So I will admit, though, I know nothing about the story, and they did help a little bit, but I don't know. I feel like some of the stuff that they said, a newcomer like myself would feel like that it didn't really help, because they were obviously talking a lot to the people who played the first one, because duh, right? It's a sequel, or I think they mentioned it was a prequel, so duh. But at the same time, it just, to me, I was like, okay, some terms and things like that being thrown around. Also, they then showed some pre-alpha footage, which I thought was nice, but it was really short. So it's kind of like, guys, it's better than the, Star Wars thing with EA where you didn't show even any concept art. But if you're going to show it, have it be kind of quiet and then throw a little tiny bit of narration around the end. It's just odd to me. Like, I'm not saying it shouldn't be shown, the pre-alpha footage, but, like, could you show either a little bit more or just show some concept art while talking about the game a little bit more? That's just my take on it. Also, you want to talk about things being odd and strange, Joseph Gordon-Levitt. So, what? I feel like Ubisoft was kind of like, hey, listen, guys, we have some interesting titles, but we also have celebrities. And granted, they're not in a celebrity role. They're working, like, they're not in, like, he's not like Joseph Gordon-Levitt is going to be in this game. He actually has his own company called Hit Record. And, but him showing up kind of felt like a Smash character. Like an appearance, like a debut, like just, it's just like, we're all here. And it just shows Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Elijah Wood. And I'm like, oh my God, Ubisoft confirmed. But anyway, so I feel strange about what they're doing, because on the one hand, my creative side is thinking, oh, this is really cool. I'm so happy that we get to add, things like art and other things like that into the game to kind of have it become a part of the world. However, there's another side of me, and that side says, wait, can you not create your own assets? And it's really rough, because obviously they can, and some people are big, it's just free labor. But if it's something you've made that can be seen throughout the entirety of this game, at least when people fly by, that's pretty cool to me. So I don't know how to feel, especially because you can also, apparently there'll be audio as well. But so you can like submit songs and quote unquote visual assets is the word that Levitt used. But what confuses me though is the way, like, I want to see how it's implemented. I think before I really shut it down, like with, the hammer, like just put the hammer down and be like, no. I really want to see how it's implemented, because the word collaboration was used a lot by Levitt, and I want to see what that means. Like, I wonder, like, he could, because the thing is, it could just be fancy speak for, hey, we're rejecting your penis drawings and anything copyrighted. That's totally what it could mean, right? Like, no, you're not submitting dick pics, and that's fine. But it's confusing to me that calling it a collaboration, like, oh, it's going to be a collaboration, we're going to be working together on this. It's like, wait, but how? What do you mean working together? What are we working together on exactly? Are you going to be smashing up my art with someone else's art? Because he was saying, oh, it's not just a way for you to promote yourself. And it's kind of like, wait, but that would be nice. What am I doing? Right? So that's just my take on it personally. And I feel as if I want to give this a little bit more of a chance before completely shutting it down, or completely praising it, to the moon and the high heavens. But anyway, let's move on to the "we nailed it" slip up, which, I mean, it's not even her slip up now. There were a bunch, and I mean a bunch of issues with the mics. I don't know why they couldn't cut them off in time, or just tell people before they go out, hey, shush. I guess they didn't know, but the tweets were coming out. So they should have told someone, hey, by the way, don't say anything the second you get back here. Wait like 10 seconds at the very least. But anyway, so yeah, but yeah, if you don't guys don't know, there was a "We Nailed It" slip up, which was beautiful. I think at this point I can't remember who was. Yeah, I think it was Gabrielle. She said, or Gabrielle Schrager. She said, "We nailed it," and it was sweet because, look, they didn't nail it, but it's not their fault, in my opinion. I don't think they were given good scripts, or heck, seeing what happened later with Elijah Wood, perhaps there really were issues with the teleprompter, and there were issues with theirs as well. And frankly, that kind of makes sense as to why other people were having issues. Like the YouTuber that we saw later. I'll talk about him when he comes up. But with the YouTuber who came out with Trails Rising, Professor Fat Shady. Yeah, I think maybe some of his issues could have had to deal with that. So it's kind of sad if those were the reasons why he had a little technical difficulties himself. But anyway, so let's move on to the fact that let's move on to Justin Kruger, the community developer, talking about for Rainbow Six Siege, talking about Rainbow Six Siege. Now, I know nothing about Rainbow Six, nor do I know anything about Rainbow Six Siege. So for me, I want to hear what you have to offer. Now, I guess arguably the numbers matter when it's online servers, so you know that there's a healthy community, you know that there can be people you can play against. So to be fair, on one hand, you could say, Matt, this is what we are offering you, telling you how many people play the game. But for me, it doesn't really do much when you say, there are 35 million players in the community. Let's all cheer for that. Because at the end of the day, and a few things felt like this, both in this press conference and in some other ones, it feels like there's this weird kind of courtship that they're trying to court in fans, but also court in investors. Where if I was an investor, I feel as if I would want to know more from an actual conference call where we're talking about, you know, the latest numbers, the earnings reports for the quarter, rather than watching an E3 and seeing how that goes. But it feels like it's a mix of, I'm granted, you could just say, hey, it's just to promote, you know, make the fans happy. Like, woo, there's all of us. But I don't know, as a fan, I've never felt comfortable having company just look at me and be like, I mean, they can say a general thank you, but to be like, there's a lot of you. Isn't that great? It's like, yes, 4 million of us bought the game. Millions of us bought the game. It's cool. And what else? And to be fair, I said what else, and then they gave me the what else. We had Operation Parabellum, which is available right now. And there's also a Rainbow Six Pro League tournament on June 18th at 5 p.m. It continues later on. I think they were talking about how it's going to be in other countries as well. But, oh wait, never mind. It's after June 18th. The tournament has already happened. They've moved on to somewhere else. You can still look that up if you want to look up and kind of see Rainbow Six Pro, like the Pro League tournament. Personally, like I said, I really wasn't invested in that or in that world. I'm not really much of an esports guy. I respect them as much as I do sports. I think that people train their butts off to actually do esports. So I'm not one of those people that's going to, shame esports. I think that's dumb. But when I saw the Another Mindset trailer, the trailer for Another Mindset, which is a Rainbow Siege documentary, I was like, let me see what's going on here. And then when I saw it, they actually drew me in a little bit. Like, the drama actually drew me in just a little bit. I was like, oh, you guys are good. And I want to say, I'm old. That's what that made me realize. Like, I respect those that participate, but man, I don't get it. Like, I do not get, and maybe I have to see the game being played. Maybe I have to see certain games being played, esports. I probably would get it more if I was watching fighting games. But and the reason why I say I don't get it is because I saw in the documentary the different venues that were holding these tournaments. And I know that esports is big, but I was like, wow, you're huge. So again, I'm old. I feel like I'm just that old guy yelling at clouds, and I'm only 25. Like, I'm not. Why? Why is this? Oh, jeez. Anyway, yeah, at first I thought it was odd to showcase this documentary, but once I actually saw the trailer, I thought, you know what? No, this makes sense. And not just from a corporate synergy point of view, the fact that you're showing off Operation Parabellum, you're showing off, all this other stuff regarding Rainbow Six. You're talking about the community. Now it makes sense why they talk about the community, because they're going to show that trailer for the documentary. Overall, I thought it worked, right? Oh no! That was my alarm. I don't know if that got caught. But yeah, that's my alarm, and I think we should move on. So now we're going to talk about Antti Ilvesuo and also the game that he was there to talk about. So he was the creative director, and he was talking about Trials Rising. When he first came out, he broke a podium. Cool! Frankly, again, I found it funny. It was also in tune with Trials, so I never played it before, but the trailer they showed right after immediately made it super easy to connect the two. I'm happy that he didn't go on and on, at least at first. Anyone did go on and on later, it worked, right? But at the time I was like, okay, you broke a podium, what's going on? What's this about? And then they showed the trailer for Trials, and I'm like, this is what this is about. And frankly, when I look at Trials Rising, I feel as if it's a kind of game, and I think you guys know the kind of game I'm talking about, that I would only buy for the multiplayer. I'm sure there might be a cool single player type campaign thing, but this is one of those games where I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna get a couple friends over, we're gonna get a couple drinks, we're all over 21, get a couple drinks, maybe get some pizza. Definitely not wings. Actually, you know what? No, they'll be touching their controllers. So yeah, pizza, maybe wings. And yeah, we're just going to go at it. Like, we're just going to have a lot of fun playing Trials Rising. So when looking at Trials Rising, the game is coming out February 19th. February 19th on the PS4, Xbox One, and Switch. So I normally am like, you guys need to talk more about this trailer. You can't just show this trailer and then leave. This is one of those cases where I was like, nah, you can just show this trailer and then leave. Like, I don't really see why they then needed to bring out Professor Fat Shady. I know they're trying to work with him. He's a YouTuber, so much respect that he's actually doing this, that he's succeeding. Really happy that YouTubers are succeeding, but I'm kind of sitting back like, why aren't we continuing on with this? But I assume he's big in the Trials Rising community. I just think it's one of those situations where I think I mentioned this when the EA with the EA podcast with the EA press conference with some of these YouTubers. Like, hey, let's say I get 1 million subs, and I'm talking about 1 million. That's a lot of subs. 1 million subs. Hundreds and thousands of people are watching my stuff. One of these companies can bring me on one of their press conferences as a host. But guess what? At the end of the day, while 1 million people is nice, that also means that millions of people don't know who I am. So it's a bit different than, back in the day when it came to movies and TV shows, where it's like, oh, you got 4 million people watching this? Well, then clearly this person should be hosting this show or this event or something like that. This is like the Emmys or the Oscars or some other award show. This is a bit different, in my opinion. So, I don't know who he is. If you do, I'm sure he's a popular YouTuber. I've been able to check him out. I'm not saying to not watch his stuff, right? I'm sure he's fun. And, frankly, I think they worked well off of each other. Ilvesuo is funny and quirky. And also, Fat Shady did what he could with what I assume was a bad teleprompter. Okay, so here's the thing. When talking about the beta, because they announced the beta, and I think that's cool, but it's strange because it was to sign up, not to get the beta. So it's like, you can sign up for the beta. So apparently, much bigger community for Trials Rising than I thought, I would imagine, unless there isn't, and they're trying to fool me into thinking that there is, because that's a pretty good tactic, actually. You have to sign up for the beta. You can't just get the beta. And it's like, wow, the community's that big? It might be, it might not be. Have to look into those numbers. But either way, I feel like it could have just been tagged into the end of the trailer, the whole sign up for the beta now. Strange to kind of have that presentation be a thing. But I do have to say, though, the montage of flips and explosions to classical music was hilarious. That was beautiful. And if that was just, they wanted to show that, but they also wanted to show a legit trailer, so they had to have this in the middle, fair. Because that was hilarious to me. Now, Let's move on to The Division 2. They brought out, I'm going to say Julian, but I think it was like Julian Garrity, and he was the creative director for Massive Entertainment. Okay, so here's the thing, right? I'll say it time and time again. I've said it a lot already throughout all these different rants. I'll say it time and time again. Super freaking happy when one company says, here is a trailer for this game, and I'm sitting there like, okay, but it's kind of small potatoes. Can I get some more of this game? And then another company swoops in and goes, don't worry, at my press conference, I'll explain all of this to you. And I'm like, yes, thank you. Because with The Division 2, I know nothing about The Division. I heard that Division started off very well, and then in terms of user base, it tanked. Or at least at first it did. Maybe it got better. Clearly it's good enough that this game is coming out. And frankly, this game actually looks good. But again, this is exactly what I need. You know, Microsoft shows a little bit of Division 2. I'm like, can I get some actual storyline stuff? And then boom, we get Garrity saying, hey, it was a virus. Virus spread, took over DC. And then during the trailer itself, we see a group of people hiding while some weird pseudo-government broke out. And then people are being shot and killed in the streets. Oh God. And then at the end of the trailer, of course, we see what I assume is your group from the first game. Also, they mentioned that raids are coming to the Division 2. 8 players can partner up. Cool beans. And also year 1 episodes 1 to 3 are free for everyone. So I assume they're going to do the whole, games as a service, play as long as you can. They're going to release a lot of different episodes, a bit like Telltale, which to be fair, that model works very well for them. Yes, they're having some money issues from what I hear, but it's not about their business model. It's about some other stuff going on there. Also, you can register for the beta now. So, let's move on to the next thing. Xavier. I feel bad saying the next thing, but I just, out of all these E3s at this point, all these press conferences, I've just run out of fun, interesting transitions. So at this point, it's just like, and now, it's like, and also some of you, I assume many of you guys saw the actual E3s themselves, so you guys can probably predict what I'm talking about next, because I'm talking about stuff in order. So you guys are basically like, one of the Joe stars. You're like, and your next line will be, but anyway, so Xavier Manzanares, Manzanares, I got it, lead producer. And he was talking about so this part of the event, I don't have this event properly labeled. He was talking about Donkey Kong, Mario, Raving Rabbids, right? That whole crossover that Nintendo talked about in their Nintendo Direct briefly, albeit, but they still talked about it. So this had me hyped. This had me pumped. And the reason why is because, it's a funny thing though, before I even get to why I was pumped. No, you know what? No, this hyped me up too, damn it. Manzanares, I love you. He went behind the curtain. No one told him about the mic issue for some reason. No one told him about it. And he says, someone said, I can't believe they changed your opening. And he says, it changes every day. Every second's a change. I love him. He is all of us. He is every single one of us who has ever worked a job ever. Thank you, Manzanares, for being our spokesperson. But anyway, moving on. God, it changes every day. Every second's a change. And the tone of his voice, you can hear him sighing as he talked. Oh my God. Beautiful. Bellissimo. So, let's move on to the actual concert itself. So to me, a concert like this, and maybe it's just stuff that I'm used to, not seeing necessarily at E3s, but just seeing when I think of orchestras, hosting different concerts and tours throughout the world. Like the orchestras for Legend of Zelda, I think there was one for Kingdom Hearts touring, but for other Nintendo games as well. I don't know, this concert made a lot of sense to me. Like, yeah, the new Donkey Kong game's coming out. Let's have you guys do Donkey Kong's theme, but in this way, live. That's cool. I don't know. I personally enjoy it. So not just that me enjoying it, but I also think it just makes sense. So I don't think that kind of detracted at all. I think it was in an odd place where they put it, but I don't think it detracted from the overall event one bit. Speaking of odd placement, Skull and Bones. So, nothing wrong with this game, I think. There was some very interesting gameplay mechanics talked about a little bit later once we had Justin Farin coming out, the creative director. But I think just the placement, right? You have Donkey Kong, you have Mario, you have Rabbids. There's just a certain vibe that's being set. And then after that, you show Skull and Bones. And I don't know, something about it didn't do it for me. And I think that might be why. It just kind of brought the mood down with this kind of dreary tone. And I didn't hate it. Right? I'm not sitting here like, I hate this game. This game's terrible. I don't even know the game. I know nothing about the game other than what they've told me. But I don't know. Like, and granted, once we had Farron come out, then I got a bit more hyped. I was like, okay, all right, my hype levels are rising. Talking about, events like the weather changing based on soothsayers telling you what's going to, how the weather's going to turn. So you can change up your gameplay styles and your ships depending on what kind of weather conditions are coming. Also, you can tell how many enemy ships there are also via the fortune teller. So generally, this is very interesting. That's going to be the game mechanic, because sometimes you have to think of new and interesting ways of trying to say, hey, how do we change the weather? Hey, how do we show who's an enemy, who's not? You can also make nice with some ships, which many games you can either it's the same standard, either they'll be your best friends or your worst enemies. But again, how do you know? Especially with a pirate ship, like a flag is a flag, right? A pirate is a pirate. So how do you know which one is it's not like you're gonna be like, oh, don't worry, that's the Going Merry, so you're fine there. Like, no, you have to know, like, okay, are you good pirates? Are you a good witch or a bad witch? So to me, that was actually pretty cool. That got me a bit more hyped. Am I gonna buy the game? I don't know. But I definitely want to look into it a bit more to kind of see what else is coming up on the horizon. So let's move on to Transference VR. They didn't call it Transference VR, but I want to emphasize that it's basically a VR game. So I'll have that in the title. It's coming out fall 2018. So I love Ubisoft. Ubisoft made me truly believe that there is no one else in the world named Elijah Wood or Joseph Gordon-Levitt, because I thought, oh, that's sweet. There's someone on the dev team that's also named Elijah. No, that's Elijah Wood. Same thing with Joseph Gordon-Levitt earlier. So when seeing him come out, he's the creative director of Spectre Vision, and then Benoit Richier, the game director for this game. I feel as if, so they sold me on the game. Even with Woods' slip up, still somehow he sold me on the game. This game looks amazing. However, I'm not sold as VR as a general concept, both in terms of the price and in terms of just, I have to look into it more, but last time I looked into it, it's not good for your retinas, from what I heard. So things may have changed. That may have been some faulty info, but I don't feel comfortable. I already wear glasses. I don't feel comfortable hurting my vision any more than I already do staring at computer screens all day, editing footage for YouTube. So I don't know. I'm just not sold. If I could play this without VR, I totally would. Also, was that Ashton Kutcher's voice as the dad? I don't know. Either way, I'll say this much. A game like this is definitely what sells VR units, right? Like if I had the cash and I didn't care about the retina thing, or I looked into it more and found out it was just bogus, I would definitely buy VR immediately. So I gotta say, this was a good idea. Now, moving on to Starlink Battle for Atlas. October 16th is its release date. And so the game looks cute, but frankly, I lost all interest the second I saw, and by the way, maybe this isn't an actual game mechanic, but the way the trailer made it looked like it was, especially later on when they showed Star Fox's ship. It seems as if the models are actually, just like with Disney Infinity and some other games like Skylanders, you have to summon the ships that way. And if that's not true, the models are just to purchase on the side, then I actually might want to get this game. But why would you show the models anyway? That's a really odd marketing strategy. You're making it seem like you need the models to play the game. And if you do, not interested in spending hundreds of dollars on top of the game already. Super not interested. Like super duper not interested in any of that. Like amiibos are cute and all, But at least amiibos, you really can, level them up in the game. Like we're talking about Super Smash Brothers here. Like I feel like there's other uses for amiibos. I don't even have a Wii U. I don't even have a Switch. But I've seen people talk about and use them, and I kind of understand. Okay, you're training them. That's fair, etc., etc., etc. In this case, I just don't feel comfortable. And then I can summon the ship. I don't know, guys. If I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong. Either way, though. When Laurent Mulville came out, he's the creative director, I was like, look, I'm happy you're trying, man. Just still not hyped because of the models thing. Then, Star Fox was announced in Starlink. Okay, so I was a bit more hyped when they announced Star Fox, but I felt odd because I don't want to say it felt misleading. I'm not trying to say that they were trying to intentionally mislead me because they announced it on the spot. Hey, he's in Starlink. I mean, freaking Miyamoto was there to be like, yeah, no, he's in Starlink. But I thought it was a new Star Fox game in some way or another. And because you just showed Star Fox right after, I don't know anything about Starlink or its character. So if that was a character from Starlink, whoops. But when you show Star Fox right after, and you don't really announce, and we have something even greater coming in Starlinks later this year. That'd be great, but they didn't show that. So they didn't say that. So just, at least I don't remember him saying that. Mulville saying that. So it came off as, hey, I'm talking about Starlinks, and now I'm not. And I was like, oh, you're not. And then what's coming up next? And that was my reaction to Star Fox. And now knowing that he's in the game as a Switch exclusive, that's cool and all, but to me, that's not going to be a Switch seller for me. Maybe it will for you, and that's awesome if you enjoy it, if you love what you've seen. And again, if the game mechanics don't involve, using models to summon ships and things like that, then hey, that might be a Switch seller for me. Or at least if not the game that I'd buy on the Switch first, it would still be in my top 5. So yeah, I like physical games I'd buy. So yeah, I mean, either way, I just thought it was going to be a new Star Fox game, so that really threw me off. Especially seeing people post about it online, but not like going too deep because I wanted to be shocked when looking at this. I thought that it was a new Star Fox game. So damn. But anyway, moving on to Roman Campos Oriola, the creative director for For Honor. And he was talking about the For Honor Starter Edition that has been given away for free. I say been because as of this recording, it is already gone. So you can't get it for free anymore, and neither can I. So that's terrible. But he then talked about For Honor Marching Fire coming out October 16th, which seemed really cool. This game in general seemed really cool, and I don't know why I never jumped on the bandwagon. I guess I just never really had the time, but it looked really cool from the get-go when I originally saw the first trailer for it. But so they showed the trailer right after, and when they did, they actually showed a few very interesting things. They show that they're adding in Chinese warriors. They used a specific name. I don't know if it was a Wulin tribe or dynasty. I don't want to get that wrong, so I'm just going to leave that out. Off the record, everybody. Off the record. Sure, we're on the internet right now, but off the record. Also, they're adding in a bridge mode, which I assume means protect the bridge and interesting things like that. And it looked cool, but I don't know what else. I mean, I get adding in those warriors in that tribe and talking about, of course, Campos Oriola. Campos Oriola also talked about the fact that why these warriors are being added in, how all of these other, warriors fighting together essentially made China go under... I forgot what the exact word was, but it's a lot of stress, I'll say. So they're joining the fray now. So that's very interesting. And it looks cool. So I kind of want to check it out, but again, I have to buy, I assume, the original game and then get this update and pay for this. And I'm like, I don't know about that. So money is the issue, and really the only issue, I would say. But let's move on to The Crew 2. So The Crew 2 was very interesting, because they didn't really... I feel like they could have showed a little bit more, perhaps, because... So The Crew 2, this was Delphine Dosset, the brand director, came out and talked about immediately when it is being released, June 29th, 2018. Then talked about the open beta coming out June 21st on PS4, Xbox One, and PC, and then talked about how you can preload the beta. Now, I don't know what the hell that means. I'm going to assume using context clues that preload makes it so that you can actually download it now, but you can only activate it on the 21st. If so, that's actually pretty cool. Might preload that beta, might play that on the show. That would be very interesting because like the preloading the beta. And I say this because of the fact that, I never really played a beta before day one. And I usually don't play games day one either. So, but I do know everyone's strife when discussing the fact that they're sitting there for hours and hours and hours on end going, all right, I got the game on day one, but I might not be actually playing it on day one. So in this case, that's actually pretty cool that you can preload the beta if that is in fact what it's referring to. Now, I think that a good thing that you did, though, is it's good that you let the trailer speak for itself. That was good. But at the same time, I feel like with the trailer, I don't know how much it differs from other games other than the modes of transportation. Now, don't get me wrong, an all-in-one racing game is cool, no doubt about it, but it kind of reminds me of the Forza situation. With the Forza situation, if there's big events, are people going to be on motorbikes driving to a place while I'm, flying to a place in my helicopter? Or, is it going to actually be as flawless as it shows in the trailer itself? I mean, you have to have a beta just to work out some kinks. How many kinks are you going to need to work out with, monster trucks driving next to a low-flying helicopter? You're in a helicopter, can you not actually fly that low? Or if you can only do it maybe next to a mountain or something like that, where there's a road or something. You can't actually do it towards the like a forest area. Like, we'll have to see how that works out. Either way, I'm sure people who played the crew can comment below and be like, no, Matt, here's what happened in the first one. Or maybe in the first one they didn't implement some of these very interesting new modes of transportation. I don't know. I've never played the game myself, but I really might get this beta. If it's a free beta, why not? But anyway, let's move on to the main event of the evening. I have to get like one of those. I have a nice microphone, but I have to actually have it fall from the ceiling and turn the camera on at me. It's like the main event, Assassin's Creed Odyssey. So Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Well, hot damn. So I gotta say, I've played Assassin's Creed games on the channel before. Assassin's Creed. It's not even Assassins anymore. I played the old Creed. You know that old Creed, right? Guys, I'm hip. I'm cool with the times. Despite the fact that the game is freaking, more than 10 years old now at this point? Or the franchise. But either way, so I played the original game with Anthony Sanandris on one season. Oh, was it season... It might have been season 3 of those guys play. And then on that was season 2. And then on season 3 of those guys play, I actually played Assassin's Creed Brotherhood with Tara, who recently for season 4 we played Undertale. So why is this relevant? It's relevant because I know a bit about Assassin's Creed, but not enough. No, definitely not enough to try to claim to be an Assassin's Creed expert. So take everything I say with a grain of salt, or maybe not. Alright, so first off, talking about the release date, it's a little odd because they didn't show one. So it seems to be coming out in 2019 at some point. They showed us a lot of gameplay and cutscene footage, however, and sure, some might say it's probably from earlier parts of the game, but it still looks very complete. So that's a little odd to me, I would say. Alright, so moving on to the release date, they didn't really show one. So we all assume it's coming out 2019, I believe. If they did show 2019, sorry about that, guys. I was writing some notes. But I'm a little confused because I'm thinking, because they showed so much gameplay footage and cutscene footage, and you can say most of that's from early on in the game, which is fair, but it seemed relatively complete. So it's kind of interesting that you could just say maybe they completed certain things for the just for the trailer and stuff like that, just for this E3, which is fair. I mean, they even said that the 4K footage was cut down for time, but still strange to me, just that there's no official release date. Also want to mention that it seems like they've gotten rid of the memories thing. If they got rid of it a few games ago, my bad. Again, I haven't kept up with the series. I've only played 2 games. However, talking about the story itself, more about the story rather, we had Jonathan Dumont, the creative director, come out, and he added some very interesting backstory talking about how, we're going to be a Greek warrior going around doing Greek stuff. A lot of Greek. Greek, I know the setting was Greece, but just a lot. The word Greek we use so many times, Greek, 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 Greek. Like it got to the point where it's like, I am Greek. It was fun though. It was really cool. And then, women finally. Jesus, I mean, Alexios or Cassandra. Like, it's been long enough, guys. You've been shit on long enough by people who are just like, come on. Like, it's not that big a deal. Why can't this exist? And for any of you out there, I don't know what the status is on, were there female Greek warriors fighting in wars. For all of you out there, they're going to be like, but there wasn't. Yes, and there also was not an Assassin's Creed. So, like, there wasn't an Assassin's group for years and years and years, and there also wasn't tech that allowed you to go into your ancestors' memories. There's a lot that this franchise has done that just doesn't exist. That's just not real. So I think at this point, if the company wanted to say, oh, it was too difficult at first, we had this character's main story, and I'm sure they'd have to, re-record the lines and then re-record everyone else's lines, etc., etc. In this case, they still technically had to do that, but it didn't have to weave into any other future sequels or anything like that. This can be potentially like a standalone game with either Alexios or Cassandra, and they don't really have to appear in future games. As far as I know, the memory thing, the whole going into your own ancestors' memories, they didn't seem to be doing that in this game. They seem to be talking about them as warriors from another character's perspective, strangely, but they're not actually going to be doing that whole shtick again, seemingly. So I guess it makes more sense now in terms of storyline, reasons to do it. Either way, they just should have done it sooner, I think, and I'm happy they're doing it now. So I'm happy you can play as the person you want to freaking play as. So that's that. Also, I think that this way of pausing and then narrating the action is a lot better than the Todd Howard way of doing it with because if you guys don't know, if you guys didn't see the Bethesda E3 press conference, when Todd Howard was showing off Fallout 76 footage, eventually he was showing off these really fun, cool animated vignettes mixed in with real game footage, kind of giving you like small little mini tutorials. But he kind of briefly, like he would show one, and then instead of letting it speak for itself, he would come in and go, okay, and this next one is going to be about this. And then slowly creeps back into the darkness. I had a lot of reminders on my phone this morning to try to wake me up. And they're just coming back to haunt me. Anyway, but seriously though, Todd Howard did retreat back into the darkness. And but my point though is that I feel as if these narrations are better. Also happy they showed so much footage of both characters, both in terms of cutscenes and gameplay. I said earlier, they showed more than a decent amount, really. So that was beautiful. So moving on, so speaking about the gameplay mechanics, though, horseback looks kind of difficult, not too comfortable with that. I say comfortable as in I will probably die fairly often. However, because this is a video game and because I can constantly respawn, and no one is actually getting hurt, I have no problem getting into those wars. Right? Again, it's a video game. No one's getting hurt. I'm just fine, just taking part in the war. Happy that they also were showing footage of Cassandra kicking some butt and how much butt you can kick as Cassandra. So I gotta say, even though I haven't played an Assassin's Creed game since the last time I played Brotherhood with Tara, at the same time, this definitely seems like a very fun game. I would definitely want to pick it up. I want to get involved into this game's mythos because there's so much just in this game alone that you can do with the mythos when it comes to adding on, both as a separate game and also adding on to the general Assassin's Creed lore. Also wondering what they're going to do with relationships in this game. Many of us know about the quote-unquote controversy, as if it's a fucking controversy. It's people existing. The controversy with, I think the character's name is Ellie in The Last of Us 2. So I do wonder if as Cassandra or as Cassandra, you could potentially be with someone who isn't male. So I think that would be a very interesting development. It would be better, I think, if you could choose whether or not you want to be or not. It would be a little strange if, it's just, oh no, regardless, man or woman, you're going to be with a woman. Because then it's like, why wouldn't you be able to be with a man if you were a man? Like, I don't know. So personally, I think that it would be nice if there's going to be little romance in the story here and there, if you can do a choose your own adventure when it came to that, whether or not you're either Alexios or Cassandra. I don't know why Alexios. I feel like every time I see Alexios, I'm like, that can't be the real name. And nothing against the name. It's just, Cassandra or Cassandra, I'm like, oh yeah, I like that's a name that I'm familiar with. Alexios, I'm not. Not saying that it's not a popular Greek name, I'm just not familiar with it. But anyway, so we are at the end of our rant. And I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you didn't enjoy it, please comment below and tell me exactly what you think. If you do enjoy it, though, you can also comment below and tell me exactly what you think. Also, remember to like and subscribe if you liked the video, and if you didn't like the video, you can still like and subscribe either way. Thank you all so much for listening in to all of these different Matt Rants that I'm doing. We're a little bit behind, but we're still chugging along. Almost there. We're literally almost to the end of E3, a week late. But seriously, guys, thank you so much for listening in to all of the stuff that we do on this channel. You guys just help us be us. Alright, so tune in next time for another episode of Matt Rants. Thank you all so much. Love you guys. Take care and see ya.